Today we're doing objective 11. We need to find the slope of a line and graph the line using the slope and a point and the slope and y-intercept. All right, part 1. To find the slope of a line given 2 points. So the formula to find slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right. And this is the change in y over the change in x. All right. So every time we're working with slope, please remember that the y's are in the top and the x's are in the bottom. And it's the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. Okay. So as we look at example number 1, this is our first point. So this x and y is x1 and y1. And for our second point, this x and y is x2 and y2. All right. So when we plug it in, we want to plug it in just like that. We want to take the y2, which is 2, and we want to subtract it from the y1, which in this case is 4. Then we want to do our x2, which is 4, and we want to subtract it from our x1, which is -3. From here we have 2 minus 4, which is -2, and 4 minus -3, which is +7. So we get -2 over 7. That is our m. So when we graph this, basically because they give us the 2 points, all we have to do is plot the 2 points that they gave us. So we have 4, 4, 2, and -2, -3, 4. Okay. So this slope, because it is from left to right, it is going down. This is a negative slope. All right. So I want you guys to look at example 2. We have the first point, which is -2, 0. So this x and y will be x1 and y1. Our second point is 4, 5. We have x, y, 2. So now we do our equation. We got m equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So now we plug that in. For y2, we have 5. For y1, we got 0. So at the top, we got 5 minus 0. At the bottom, we have x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is -2. So we have 5 minus 0, which is 5. And then we have 4 minus -2, which is 4 plus 2, which is 6. So 5 over 6 is not negative, you guys. This is positive. So when we graph that, all we have to do is graph our 2 points. We have -2, 0. And we have 4, 5. And when we connect them from left to right, the line is going up. So this is a positive slope. A positive slope. All right. So with slope, because slope is the change in y over the change in x, coming from this point, if I go down 2 and to the right 7, it will put me at my next point. For example 2, we have positive 5 over 6, so that means I can go up 5 and to the right 6, and that'll put me at my next point. So that's how we can use the change in y over the change in x to find our way to our next point if we already have a point and the slope. So that's something that we're going to be working on today as well in a couple examples. Example 3, find the slope of the line passing through the points. All right, and they give us 2 points. So we're finding slope and they give us 2 points. That means we need to use our slope formula. So first thing you need to do is write it out. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? Then you need to identify what your x1, y1, x2, and y2 is. And this can be your point 1 or this can be your point 1, but you can't mix up your x's and y's. Like if this is going to be x1, this would have to be y1. This can't be x1 and y2. You can't mix them up like that. All right. All right. Okay. 0. What is x2 minus x1? All right. So 0 divided by 6 is 0. Okay. So let's see what this looks like. We're going to apply our 2 points. And of course, when you guys graph this, make sure that your graphs look like the graphs we did yesterday, where you have your axis and everything identified. Of course, this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and then you have your notches and everything. All right, so we got -2, 2. So remember, from the origin, we go to the left 2, and then we go up 2. So that's -2, 2. I also want you guys to label your points. If y'all don't see me do it in the video, please follow the directions that we did yesterday as for when we first got into how to graph. All right. The next point was 4, 2. So we go to the right. So what I was just saying while y'all ain't hear nothing, I was just saying, I was just going over like what we just talked about as far as with the formula for slope and the negative and positive slope. So now with example 3, we're graphing these 2 points, which I have done here on my booklet graph. And so we see that it's a straight line, kind of like the flat ground, okay? So basically, one of the things that I want y'all to understand is that if a line is a horizontal line, the slope is 0. It has a 0 slope. All right? And thinking about the ground, imagine if you were standing up here, right? And you were looking in this direction, it will slope down, right? So this is negative. If you are standing here, the slope will be going up, kind of like a ramp. Like if you're at the top of the ramp and you're going up the ramp, that's a positive slope. If you're at the top of the ramp here and it's going down, then it's a negative slope. So if you just walking on the straight flat surface, that is a 0 slope. Okay, so let's look at number 4. Let's look at these 2 points. All right, so our y2 is 3 and our y1 is -2. So we have 3 minus -2. Then our x2 is 1 and our x1 is 1. So we have 1 minus 1. So we end up getting 5/0. So who remembers what it is when we have a number divided by 0? Yes, undefined. Undefined, all right? So here in the graph, I plotted 1, -2, and I plotted 1, 3. So if I connect these, it's a vertical line, okay? So a vertical line is undefined, all right? So this is you just falling off the side of a cliff or something. That's undefined. If you're walking on a flat surface, that's a 0 slope. If you are going down a ramp, that is a negative slope. If you're going up a ramp, that is a positive slope. Okay? So I hope that makes it make sense to everybody. So now for example 5 and 6, we're going to practice just finding the slope using our formula, okay? So the first step is to write the formula out. And this is just to ensure that you don't have any mix-ups. Then you want to plug in your numbers, all right? So this is P1, so this will be X1 and Y1. This is P2, so this will be X2 and Y2. Now you plug that in. Y2 is 2, so we got 2. Y1 is -5, so we have minus -5. Remember, whenever we have a negative sign, that's a part of our formula. When we plug that number in, even if it's positive, negative, whatever it is, we still have to keep that negative sign because it's a part of our formula. Now with the x2, we have -4. And with x1, we have that minus sign for the formula. And then our x2, our x1, which is 2. Okay? So 2 minus -5. It's the same thing as 2 plus 5. So we get 7. -4 minus 2 gives us -6. Okay, so I would recommend to rewrite this as -7 over +6. And the way that this will be performed, if we have a point, we will go down 7 and we'll go to the right Okay? So we're going to look at that in a few seconds. So now I want you guys to do number 6. So you should have gotten 0 over 8, which is 0. Now let's look at number 7. For number 7, we have 0.1 is 6 negative 1, and 0.2 is 6, 7 equals 0. So we have a 0 slope, or we can say the slope is 0. We don't want to say that it's no slope because it is a slope, okay? The only thing that will be no slope would be something that's undefined, because it's a vertical line, you know, straight up and down, that has no slope. So when you get a slope of 0, say that the slope is 0. Example 7 is undefined. All right, great job, y'all. Okay. So, part 2. To graph a line giving a point and the slope. All right. So for these, I'm going to pull out my little handy dandy so our graph can be a little bit more accurate. So for this first one, first things first. You guys already know what slope-intercept form is. Some of you guys saw it and noticed it yesterday in class, so that's awesome. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, all right? M being the slope, b being the y-intercept. So with example 1, it's already in slope-intercept form, which is perfect for us. So we just have to identify what our m and what our b is. So our m is 5 over 3, and our b is negative 4. So that means that we're going to be plotting 0, negative 4. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So for example 1, our m is 5 over 3, and our b is negative 4. I sure hope you can hear me. So the first thing we need to plot is the y-intercept. So this is our x-axis and this is our y-axis, remember? Okay. So the first thing we need to do for example number 1, we need to plot the y-intercept, which is 0, negative 4. So that's negative 4 on the y-axis. Then from there, we do our slope, okay? So remember I told you guys that the slope was the change in y over the change in x. So the change in y, which is 5, that means we're going to go up 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Then our change in x is positive 3. So that means we're going to go to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. Like that. So we go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And to the right 1, 2, 3. And then we connect it. And that is our graph. All right. So that's 3, 1, 2, 3. -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. This point is 0, -4, and this point is 3, 1. So this is what I want on your work on paper, all right? Preferably graph paper. If not, your graph will be on notebook paper, I'm guessing, and you can use each line like that as a space, and on this side, you know, try to keep them that same distance. Okay, so that's example 1. Let's take a look at example 2. So first thing we want to look at, if we're going to graph it using the point and the slope, it helps for it to be in slope-intercept form. So this one is not in slope-intercept form. So we need to move some things around. So hopefully you guys remember how we did that on yesterday. So to move some things around, we moved the x. So we subtracted x on both sides. Then we were left with 2y equals -x plus 4. Then we divided everything by 2. And we were left with y equals -1/2 x plus 2. All right. Now that we have this, we can graph it. All right, so we first plot our y-intercept, which is 2. So it's at 2 on the y-axis. Then we do our slope. Because it's negative, we're going to go down 1 and to the right 2. So we go down 1 and to the right 2. So we connect them. And make sure you guys use a ruler. That will definitely help. So we have 2, 1, and this point is 0, 2. So we went down 1 and to the right 2. And just to show you guys what my notes look like, this is the graph. This is graph paper here. And I used the ruler to make sure that everything was nice and straight. So this is how I want you guys' work to look as well. Nice and neat, where I don't have to try to figure out, you know, what's happening. You don't have to try to figure out what's happening. Everything is just nice and where it's supposed to be. So go ahead and start working those out. And we're going to go over them quickly. All right, example 3. Our m is 2. So that's the same thing as 2 over 1. So we're going to be going up 2 and to the right 1. And our point is -4, -4. So first thing that we need to do, we need to plot -4, -4. And from that point, we go up 2 and over 1. And that is our graph. Very simple, okay? On your work, make sure that you label the points and label the notches on your graph, okay? For example 4, Okay, so example 3, they actually gave us the point and gave us the slope. For example 4, they give it to us in slope-intercept form. So we know that the slope is the m, which is -3/2. So we're going to go down 3 and to the right 2. And then they give us 4, so our y-intercept is 4. So on our y-axis, we find +4, which is here. We plot that. Then we go down 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we go to the right 2. Connect it using a ruler, and boom, that is our graph. Of course, label your notches and label your points. This is 2, 1, and this is 0, 4, like that. All right, for example 5, they give us a point and the slope. So m is -4/3, so we're going down 4 and to the right 3 from this point. So first thing we need to do is plot that point, which is -2, 3. So -2 up 3. Then we do down 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 3, 1, 2, 3. And we connect it. This is -2, 3, which is what they gave us. And this point is 1, -1. So make sure that you label your points, label your notches. If you don't have graph paper, do your best with the regular line paper. Y'all have an awesome rest of your day.